So starting with the speakers, obviously there, I had to start there because that's one of the key selling points of this phone. Reversible speakers. The phone rotates in reverse. It's got speakers that come out of the back. When you lay it like that, you can see the sound kept coming through. And then when I had it on this side, the sound continued to play. So the speakers on this phone are supposed to be 3 watt. They're really, really loud. You've got wave audio as well, where you can really tweak it and get some good sound from these speakers. This is my current setup right here, because they don't handle bass very well, and I'll get into that in a little bit with phone calls. But the speaker quality on this phone is really good, and it's definitely far exceeds a lot of other phones out there that are currently using dual front firing speakers. Now let me get my little fan going here. Ah, yes. So music is what we will use this for, obviously, but then phone calls as well. So when taking phone calls on this device, that is where I felt like it fell a little bit short. The speakers aren't that loud, so I've employed a conference call speaker to help me with that. Other than that, they are loud. In a quiet room, you'll be able to hear really, really loud. But even so, they seem a little muffled at times with peak volume when making phone calls. With music, it sounds pretty good to me, but something with phone calls, I don't know what that's about. It definitely sounds a little muffled on speaker. But without speaker, regular phone calls, it sounds pretty good. So the speaker quality on here is definitely better than a lot of phones on the market. It kind of blows them away, because having front firing speakers is something that we will all want on the device, and have a small size and still have a very big screen. Speaking of screens, this is a 5.2 inch 1080p display. Now, I think this is a great size for a phone. Especially if you're going to have these large bezels. Now imagine if they didn't have these large bezels. They were able to squeeze in dual front firing speakers on a pretty small phone. But it's probably big to some people. This is a really small phone though. But they were able to squeeze in dual front firing speakers, and it's reversible, so they can do it on this phone, but they could have shrunk the bezels a little bit. So, the top and bottom, it's got some pretty large bezels. Nothing that's going to be real bad about the phone, but it's pretty large bezels. So they're there. And you do see T-Mobile up there. I'm actually, this is unlocked, and I'm using it on T-Mobile. I do use it on Cricket sometimes, but I got my Cricket SIM and my my big boy right here. So the screen on here, they were able to fit a 5.2 inch display in here, 1080p. And it is really good. It's an IPS display. It's not the best screen on the market, but it is really, really solid. And I think you'll be very impressed with it. And I have a black wallpaper on here because I like to label the phones that I have. So let's go back and pick a wallpaper here. Let's just pick this one. And we're going to set this. So you can see how vibrant this screen really can be. So as you can see there, this is a very, 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 very nice screen. And I don't think you'll have any problems with viewing angles or anything like that. People get a little too technical about it. But I think you'll be pretty happy with this screen once you get it in hand. So how does it compete against a lot of other phones? Well, there are some 1080p screens out there that are a lot better than this. There are some 720 screens that are better than this. But this is still a fantastic package right here. Very affordable too. Now the build quality on here, this is where this phone kind of stands apart from a lot of other phones. It is extremely thin. It looks even thinner because it has a black front and back glass. But it's really 7.1, I believe it is, or 7.3 or something like that. And it's not a thick phone at all. It's got this metal frame that goes all the way around, and they got it colored silver so you can actually see the phone itself. But let's zoom in and take a look at the body here and the build quality. So you've got a power button way up here on the left side, and then on this side you've got your volume rocker, and you got this boom key. Now the boom key can be programmed for different things, but I just keep it programmed for music. And on the top here you've got a headphone jack, and then you've got an antenna band right here, antenna band that runs through the headphone jack. Then you got a microphone there. Now this phone is reversible, so when I flip it around, you see how it goes up to this side. Now on this bottom here you've got the 2 antenna bands. You got a microphone there because it is reversible. And then you've got the charge and sync cable that's kind of to the left. Why they did that, I don't know. it really doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me too much. On the back here, you've got that nice camera there. So let's zoom out a little bit here. This phone is pretty impressive with the build quality. You've got a front-facing camera there and proximity sensors. This phone is pretty impressive with the build quality. I gotta admit, it definitely looks better than several other phones on the market. And it's got that glass front and back. Now, what I've found with this glass back on this one, it's scratched really easy. So you can't really see any scratches on here unless you really look for them up close. But there are little marks and scratches on here with little to no use. So, you know, this phone scratches pretty easy. So I would recommend a case for it, definitely. But overall, though, the build quality is very solid on here. I don't think you have any problems with this. Now, the camera quality is where this phone is pretty decent, I'll say. Let me take a picture of something here. Let's see. I'll take a picture of this Cricket box. So the camera quality is HDR is on. That's why you get like a little bit of lag there. But the camera quality is decent. It's not the best camera on the market. Video calling, or excuse me, video calling, yeah, video calling and just the video footage is decent. This will get the job done. Now, I'm not saying this camera is bad by any means. This is a really solid camera for this package because it doesn't cost a lot. When you think about it, this is kind of a great package here. You can get this discounted on Cricket too. And then I've unlocked it for like $2, so look for that video as well. But this is a good camera for what it is. It matches the price, and it kind of exceeds the price because it is really nice. Front and rear cameras will do the job. Battery life on here. Now, at the beginning, I was averaging about, let's see, what was I averaging on here? I was getting about almost 5 hours. And I actually hit 5 hours, but now I'm getting an average of about 4 hours and 45 minutes or 4 hours and 30 minutes. And that's pretty good considering. This phone doesn't have the biggest battery in the world, so it actually does really well. I'll go over the tech specs here in just a second. Performance on this phone is pretty decent. I haven't had any stutters, any lag or anything. The phone just it doesn't crash out on me. I think I've had some problems more with like making phone calls, if anything. You know, I haven't had any problems with like the software itself, but it seems like the phone the phone calls is where I thought this would really peak out. But anyway, the performance is good on here. You shouldn't have too many crashes. I hope. I can't predict that all these phones will work flawlessly. This one hasn't given me too many problems here. So you're looking at a 5.2-inch 1080p display, a 13 megapixel on the back, 3 gigs of RAM, and a Snapdragon 617. The battery in here is 2610, so you'll get some pretty decent battery life out of here. When I was talking about the build earlier, it's actually 7.1. It only weighs 135 grams, so that's good. It has an SD card slot. This actually has adaptable storage too. Now, I didn't do a video on that, but it does have adaptable storage. The 5.2-inch 1080p display is really solid. It does run a Snapdragon, so that's good. Like I said before, it's a 617. But the fact that it has adaptable storage, it's really good. This is an 8 megapixel on the front with an LED flash, and it's kind of hidden away there, but there is an LED flash in there. It does have the 5 gigahertz band, so that's great. Fast charging. I mean, it's a solid package, and it's only $200 on Cricket, but that's the problem. It's on Cricket. You can actually get it if you can get it for $149 now with the VR headset, which I never even opened. I have so many VRs, and then you can get it at a discount of $50 off of that. So $100 is what I did, and I ported a number in from another provider and got it for $50, and I just chose a $30 plan. Then I unlocked it for $2. So for $140, pretty much, you can have this phone on any carrier. I think it's a pretty solid package. I would definitely recommend it to anybody that's in the market for a anybody that's in the market for a new device. I think this is one that you could probably pick this up with no problems. And if you just need to take the time, some people think it's a hassle to, and the average consumer will. You know, the average consumer will not want to go and start an account with Cricket. I mean, it only takes a few seconds. I would recommend you do it online, because if you go into the store, there's a $25 activation fee. But if you just don't want to deal with anybody, this is the way to go. If you want to get phones, sometimes you have to get them on other providers, do the research prior to getting it to be sure it can be unlocked, and then you've got yourself a golden package. So, would I recommend this phone? Definitely. Is it worth the so-called hassle to start an account with Cricket and get it online and wait for it? I think so. I think it's worth it. I think it's well worth it. 140 bucks, and look at the package that you're getting. Dual front-firing speakers, 1080p 5.2-inch display. Pretty good battery life for heavy, and then that's with heavy use. 4 to 5 hours of screen on time, or 4.5 to 5 hours screen on time. That's with heavy use, not light use. So it's fantastic on battery, for that matter. All of my numbers on this channel are going to always be with heavy use, not with light use. So with light use, you can definitely get a couple days out of this thing. I think it's a really solid device. I will highly recommend it. And for the way that you can get it, you know, I did the unlock for $2. You just can't beat that. So it's your man Jay Will. That's the full review of the Idol 4 on Cricket. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.